Pro family, welcome to another special edition of On a Mission. I'm Emily May, and I am with our special friend and partner of Mission Pro Wrestling. We have Chuck from Wrestling Over Everything. Welcome.
How are you?
I am good. It is show week. We are getting ready. We are getting excited. We've had special guests on all week for On a Mission, and I'm excited that we get to talk to another special person, Brittany Blake, tonight, and she's making her debut at Mission Pro. So I'm so excited. Are you excited?
Super stoked. I have not had the pleasure of meeting her yet, so I'm as excited as you are.
I'm so excited because we have some amazing debuts this weekend. We have some amazing matches. I'm sure you've seen the incredible card, and Brittany Blake is a part of one of those incredible matches. So before we bring her on, I wanted to get your take on what you're looking forward to this weekend at Living on the Edge.
So anytime that Maddie's on the card, I'm excited. Holly Dead tries to kill me every time she sees me. She I don't know if I have that face that is like punchable, or if she just likes picking on me. I don't know which one it is, but she scares me. The twins, anytime the twins are around, I'm all for that as well. So I am super excited for the whole card.
I mean, so you have to be careful because you always get in trouble with Holodead. Like Holodead finds you, targets you,
Yes.
and so you got to be a little careful because she's going to be on extra focused and on extra fire this weekend because she has a fatal four-way, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So,
Gonna win. No way around it. I just hope they're ready for what's coming from her.
Exactly. Holodead always brings it, always surprising. So you're gonna also be at Living on the Edge with some special merchandise.
We are.
You want to talk about that?
So we ordered a bunch of stuff, and I'm hoping that it's here before we leave Saturday. No, before we leave tomorrow night. We've got some special tank tops that we ordered. We have, when we were at GCW, we debuted two different designs that nobody had seen yet. We did one for the Big Gay Brunch for Effie's show. It's the Pride Wrestling Over Everything shirt. Okay. We'll have what we have left from that show with us. And then the shirt that we did with y'all, it says, it's not this one, but it says Mission Pro Wrestling Over Everything, and it's in the flag of Texas. So we debuted too. I'm pretty excited about both of them.
Those were very popular at GCW when we were selling our Mission Pro merch after Bangers Only.
Right.
Everyone loved those. All of us wanted to get them right away. So hopefully if you all are there in person in San Antonio at the Salvation Army Mission Corps, it's a new location. Make sure that you stop by their booth because you gotta pick up that merch because it is always custom. It is always one of a kind and very limited. So go get those. And also, if you can't join us in San Antonio, you can stream it on Title Match Network. So go sign up early if you are not a member, and make sure you get that ahead of time so you can just get in there and watch all of Mission Pro shows.
That is a great network to be a part of and to have the subscription to. They have a lot of amazing matches all over the platform, so it's great. But we do have new hats. I just wanted to show you the new hats. I'm excited about them. All that stuff's new, so I'm excited about the hats. Sorry,
amazing. No, we love to see the merchandise. You make some incredible stuff, and so we're excited that you partnered with Mission Pro to kind of make some special stuff for us and the fans. The fans love it. So thank you again. But I want to get into our special guest because I'm excited. I know you both have a lot of items and collections behind you, which we're going to get into in a little bit because I love how you both have bonded over that already. So I am so excited to welcome Brittany Blake to On a Mission. Welcome, Brittany.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. Welcome. I'm so excited to see you at Mission Pro this weekend. So let's dive into it because
Yeah,
I want to know how you're feeling because you are heading into a huge championship match, fatal four way with
absolutely.
Holodead, Zoe Sky, and top tier Jasmine Allure. And Jasmine and Holodead have some history, but I wanted to see how you're feeling because this is a huge moment for you.
Yeah, I am so excited. I'm excited. I was excited before I even found out what the match was, just to be at Mission Pro. And when it was just the triple threat and it was just me, Zoe, Jasmine, I was excited because me and Zoe kind of have history. Like, I feel like when I started, me and Zoe wrestled a lot. But I haven't wrestled Zoe since she became the Shimmer champion, so I feel like, there's some stuff maybe I haven't seen from her yet, and I've never been in the ring with Holodead or Jasmine, and when they added Holodead, I was like, "I'm ready. I'm so ready for this."
I mean, a lot of people have been watching Holodead. She's our Mission Pro champion. She's been, she challenged at the beginning of 2022, and she said bangers only. Every match needs to be bangers only. So how are you going to make the match on Saturday bangers only?
I don't see how this match could be anything but a banger. I mean, just the amount of talent and just the diversity of all of our styles. I just feel like the way all of our styles are gonna kind of mix is just gonna be amazing. And I know how Fatal Four Ways work. I'm gonna keep my eye on all three of them. I'm gonna go for all three of them at the same time if I have to. I'm ready.
That is some thug. That is some thug mentality. I'm gonna I'll film by myself. And you did say that you were in Baltimore and you
Yes.
out of doors. Like it would make
Yeah.
sense to have that thug mentality.
Well, I mean, I've only been living in Baltimore for about 4 or 5 years now, so before that, I grew up in Jersey and Philly, so, like, I have a little bit of everything.
So are you bringing a mix of like street smart and technique to the ring on Saturday?
Absolutely, I have a little bit of everything. I know I get, like, kind of tagged as a high flyer, but I have my submissions, I can be grounded, if people think I'm going high, I'll go low, like, I can do it all, really. So I'm not afraid to mix it up and throw people off their game.
So, Jasmine has been kind of, she always has kind of a little chip on her shoulder. She's top tier, Jasmine Allure. And, she's been building this history with Holodead. She's been trying to get that gold. She was Mission Pro champion for about, what was it, Chuck? Like 3 minutes, 5 minutes? I think we tried to count.
The first lady in Texas to wear our shirt. I I love her no matter what. She's
That
still
is true.
she
That
could
is
be,
true.
but hold on, don't just bash on how long it rain was.
True, true. I will give her credit. Second Mission Pro champion. Um, so how are you? You've been kind of watching what's happened with Jasmine, and you know Zoe, but like and Holodead. So have you been kind of watching what's been happening the last few months at Mission Pro?
Yeah, absolutely. I keep my eye on everything, and I just, I'm ready for anything. I keep my eye out. I don't always, talk shit online, but it doesn't mean I'm not watching.
Yeah, true. You kind of have to always keep because Jasmine has that ability to potentially have people interfere or get
Yeah, like
involved.
just try to be
She's not
sneaky and
necessarily
shady and
yeah, not necessarily always clean. So
no, no.
yeah.
But I'm used to that, so that doesn't scare me at all.
She's from Baltimore. She understands cheating. Like she has
Whoa,
life.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't all frame everyone from Baltimore like that.
And I may live here, but I am a Jersey girl through and through, which I mean is
Oh,
its own toughness and its own right.
Did not start off the conversation with me with I had a lot of locks on my door. And
Well, no, that's because we don't have tornadoes here, so my version of a tornado shelter is having lots of locks on our door because there's a lot of gunshots. The other day,
oh,
we heard explosions outside, and it took 3 explosions for me to go, "I should go see what that's about," and then went on my balcony, and there was a car on fire. Like,
oh
it
no.
didn't take me 3 explosions to be like, "Hmm, what's going on out there? Let me get off my couch from watching TV."
Yeah. That's kind of like earthquakes in California. If it's not more than a 5 and
Right.
we're like, it's not shaking that bad. We're good.
Is there like an equivalent with a tornado? Like, oh, if it's only an F1 or F2, it's just a light breeze. It's fine.
I mean, here in Mississippi, straight line wind will knock trees down just like a F1, 2, or 3. So I mean, like, I don't think they go higher than 3. I don't know. I'm not like, we have a tornado shelter, but I'm not a expert on tornadoes. But
Okay.
straight line wind will do the same thing. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Spain. You were talking about gunshots. If I hear gunshots where I live, I just assume it's trying to kill a raccoon outside.
Oh,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
It's definitely one of those games of, was that a gunshot or was that fireworks? And
Oh my
it's usually
goodness.
always a gunshot.
Well, we're gonna move on to other topics here. Like we could talk about this all day.
Please.
So I know that we chatted a little bit earlier about what you do on your spare time, and many people know that you're a cosplayer too. You're a writer. So someone in the chat wanted to say, what do you do outside of wrestling and when you're not training? And everyone would love to know what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my day job is I work in a law office, go figure. But then outside of that, I do cosplay. I play a lot of video games. I read books. I study a lot of Japanese in my downtime. So, try to do a little bit of everything.
So what is your favorite, like, and I'm probably not going to get the terminology right, but like when you cosplay, like what is your go-to character?
So, it's either between Rogue from X-Men or any of my Persona cosplays. Persona is hands down my favorite game. I've cosplayed probably like 15 characters between Personas 3, 4, and 5. Like, it's either the any version of Rogue or any Persona character.
Okay. And have you always been, because you've cosplayed before you got into wrestling, so
Yeah,
did that morph into kind of who you are as a wrestler?
kind of. I mean, I used to want to keep it separate. Like, I was never like, hiding the fact that I cosplay, but I didn't want to be a cosplay wrestler, especially when I got started. There was, Leva Bates, and she's been great. Like, she's always been super kind and helpful, but I never wanted to like step on her toes. And then there was also other people who had like anime gimmicks. So
Hmm.
like I always just wanted to be like, if there was an anime version of me, what would that be? Like there was this one anime called Nana. It's probably one of my favorite animes. She's like a punk chick. So I feel like if like I could be an anime character, but I'm not basing myself off of like a pre-made character. But I want to look like I could be made into a character.
So like what makes a cosplay character so unique? Like how did you try to make it so like you are your most unique person that you can be
As a cosplayer or a wrestler or
as both. Let's
both.
talk about
I
both.
mean, I've always tried to cosplay characters that I personally relate to. Like I said, Rogue, like that was one of my favorite characters since I was a little kid. I always related to her. And then when I started reading the X-Men Legacy comics, I just really felt attached to that character. So I feel like the more I can relate and the more I can kind of morph Brittany as the person with whatever the character is, I feel like it translates on camera so much more. And it's funny because like a lot of the anime characters are like teenage schoolgirls, so to an extent, it's hard to relate
Hmm.
to a 15-year-old schoolgirl, but there are points where I'm like, "Oh, I can see where I was like that at that age and still kind of like relate to that character." But it is weird as I'm getting older and finding myself relating to like the older characters. But I'll always be a sucker for Rogue for sure. She was always my favorite character as a kid.
Yeah. I mean, you're like you've mentioned before that like your dad got you into wrestling, right? So
Yes,
how
he
did
did.
that unfold for you? Like how old were you and
Mhm.
when was that moment where you were like, I'm actually going to do this?
So, well, there's like there's the fake, I'm gonna do this, so that you don't know what you're gonna do as a kid, and then there's like the real moment. So I started watching it. My parents split up when I was like, I want to say like 5 or 6, and I feel like it was shortly after that. It was like right in the middle of the Monday Night Wars, and my dad had us on Sundays and Mondays. So every Sunday we'd watch Heat, Monday would be the Raw or Nitro. And as a kid, I honestly it didn't click with me that they were two different programs. I just all thought it was one show, honestly. Um, and I remember watching Heat and seeing Lita for the first time, and that was, like, the moment where I was like, "I wanna do this." And then as that kind of unfolded, once I was in middle school, I used to write, like I guess essentially it's fan fiction, but I used to write my own storylines. If I didn't like how something was playing out, I would write about it. Every time a
Nice.
teacher was like, "What do you wanna be when you grow up?" And I was like, "I wanna be a diva." And I would get, like, this red it was like foam. It was hair dye foam, and I would dye my hair red, but, like, my hair is so dark that it really didn't show up. It was bad. I tried to emulate Lita so much as a teenager, and I honestly like, I was so sheltered and under a rock that I didn't even realize that there was something outside of WWE until I was, like, in my 20s. I was 20 I think I was exactly 20 when I went to my first indie show, and I was like, "It's this close to my house?" And I looked up, and there were schools, like, within 30 minutes of me, so I signed up, I saved up the deposit, and then I started, when I was 21, and the rest is history, but I did hide it from my dad for a while,
Oh,
because when I was younger, I was like, "I wanna be a wrestler," and he was always like, "Oh," he's like, "You're too small, it's just you're gonna hurt yourself." And then when I started doing it, I mean, I was definitely the smallest girl, but meeting people like Trish and Lita and then realizing that, like, they're really not that much taller than me, it's just, like, the cameras, um, but it's so funny, but yeah, I hid it from my dad for a while, and he found out from YouTube that I was wrestling, and, that was not a good conversation to have, but he has gone to a few shows now. He doesn't really like seeing me get beat up too much, but he will go. So it's kinda nice. He's kind of, like, come around. It's funny because like, he also, like, brags to his friends that I wrestle, but, like, not to me. Like, he won't tell me it's cool, but he'll tell his friends it's cool, you know? Like, he could be secretly watching right now, and he would never tell me.
I mean, as a dad of a daughter, like I mean, like I wrestle too, but I don't want her nowhere near it. I mean, like it's so,
Yeah.
like my mom would literally I would be wrestling 20 minutes from my mom's front door, and
Yeah.
she watched me wrestle. But if John Davis was in the state of she would drive 3 hours to see him wrestle.
Mhm.
She wouldn't come watch me, but because she loves John and John's her favorite wrestler, she'll go see him. So like it's
Funny.
like you don't want to see your kids get hurt.
My mom loves it though, like, the first, I feel like, year or 2 of wrestling, I did mostly intergender, and my mom loved seeing intergender wrestling, like, she loved it. So it's so funny how, like, different my parents' views are, and I got into it with my brother, and he's been to a ton of shows, like, I love when he comes to shows, and I love going to shows with him as just, like, a
mhm.
fan. It's a good, like, family bonding experience.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I love how, like, your family embraced it, and I know your dad's coming around a little bit, but I feel
Yeah,
like he secretly supports you and is, like, your
he
biggest
does.
fan. He just is, like, on the DL a little bit.
And I
He's
think
I
I think
wanna
his
be
fear
quiet
too,
about
because
it.
like, he definitely, like, had all the Playboys. I think his fear was that, like, I was going to do that and that he wouldn't be able to get Playboy anymore.
Uh,
I
I think
mean,
that was part of his fear.
there are certain things that I know my mom and my stepmom follow my Instagram, but I told my stepmom, "Please do not have my dad follow me on Instagram." Like, and I explicitly said that. There's just certain things.
Yeah, if my
So
dad ever I mean, my Instagram's not that bad, but, like, I just feel like if my dad was on Instagram, he would have too many opinions on everything.
exactly. So you mentioned intergender wrestling, and
Mhm,
we had a great conversation last night with Ruby Reyes, who's also going to be on the show um, on Saturday,
mhm.
and she's had a lot of intergender matches. And what's your experience with them? And is that like your favorite type of match, or do you have a different type that's your favorite?
I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite anymore. I loved doing intergender. I feel like I learned a lot. In some ways, it kind of hindered me a bit, I feel like, but that I feel like that was early on. Sometimes it feels like the guys are doing more to make like the girls look good. and it took a lot of learning to realize that, like, I need to give, like, I need to do my end of the work as well. And I feel like once I picked that up, intergender wrestling became so much more fun. I actually have an intergender match next month, against Drew Blood that's coming up, and I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun. But, I mean, I love working guys, I love working girls. Big fan. I just like being able to tell a story and entertain a crowd. It doesn't matter if it's a guy or girl or if there's, like, a special stipulation to the match. They're all fun to me, or they all can be fun. I mean, not every match is fun. There's definitely ones that suck, but
Yeah, we don't talk about those. No.
no.
So, someone from the chat, front row, thank you again for joining us for another On a Mission. We have our diehard fans here in the chat.
Yay.
They want to know, what's it like for you to see the positive impact you have on young fans?
I have a positive impact on young fans. What?
You do, I guess you do. That's what.
No, it is really cool. It throws me off because, like, to me, like, I don't in my head, like, think about that, but then when it does happen and a kid comes up to me, it reminds me of when I was that kid, and there was a wrestler that I looked up to. So, like, when they do come up to me, I try to be, like, as positive and kind as I can, because I would never want to be the person that, like, meets their heroes and then makes the kid go home crying. But it is really cool seeing that because I've been that kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important, and we try to instill that at Mission Pro too, where we have the intermission where you can meet the talent and afterwards, and we try to, because there are so many kids that go to the shows and they're meeting Kylan King for the first time, or they're meeting Genocide, and that's such a special moment to
Yeah.
watch, or see the Renegade Twins meet some of their youngest fans. It's incredible, and like, you see that these young kids see themselves in that ring, and that's a huge impact. Because Chuck, you've had young kids go to the show as well, right? You've seen that impact.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like my daughter, she's 6, and her 2 favorite wrestlers, or I take it back, 3. She's gonna get mad at me if I don't include. We're gonna go 4. We're stopping at 4. Her first is John Davis, which Uncle John, Savannah Evans, Bam Bam Malone from Texas, and Masha Slamovich. She loves them.
Masha's one of my favorite. Actually, Masha's probably my mom's favorite, weirdly enough.
Really?
We are
Yeah.
a huge, loving, supporting family of Masha. Like, she's great.
Yeah.
But
Brittany, yeah.
kids adore, like, they adore them. Like, the whole time we were in Texas when we first met Masha, like, my little girl's like, "Are we gonna talk to Masha? I want to talk to Masha. We're gonna." Like, yes, we're gonna talk to her, baby. Baby, calm down. And like,
Gotta hold them back a little bit.
we went to. She did the same thing for Savannah. I'm texting Savannah. I'm like, "Will you please come out here?" So that she will not stop asking. Please come. So, like, the things that, like, wrestlers don't understand is the impact they do make on little kids. These little kids, like, adore them
Yeah.
because more than just like people that they meet, like, they're larger than life superheroes. And
Yeah.
like, you've got to realize, and I'm not saying that you've got to, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and but like, you've got to realize, like, little kids look up to you no matter what it is.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's important to like see that impact, and I think it changes your outlook on what you're doing and keeps you going, in the ups and downs. Brittany, have you wrestled Masha?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun. That's how my mom found out about her. She
Yeah.
came to a match where I was wrestling Masha. Masha kicked my ass, and my mom loved it. Like, there's a slow-mo video somewhere of her kicking my face off, and my mom is just loving it. Loving it.
I mean, Masha, she just had a recent match with Lindsay Snow at GCW at Bangers
Oh, that
Only.
had to be good.
And it was so, like, blood everywhere. It was a pure battle where I was like, is everyone good?
I want
If
Masha.
you guys,
I want to wrestle Masha, like, all the time if I could. I haven't wrestled Lindsay. I would love to wrestle Lindsay. That would be another like dream match of mine.
Yeah. Do you have any other dream opponents? Either ladies from
Toni
Mission
Storm.
Pro? Okay. Okay. Or
Yeah, Toni.
outside. Yeah. Tony
Yeah,
Storm.
Toni Storm is definitely, like, top of the list, like, I love her wrestling. When I started watching, like, Stardom and stuff, she was one of the girls I got to watch when I first fell in love with, like, Stardom and, like, Japanese wrestling. But yeah, I'm trying to think of who else. She's just, like, the top of the list for me, honestly, but, Athena would be another one I would love to wrestle. Trying to think of who else. I'm, like, blanking, but yeah, Toni Storm's definitely, like, the person I wanna wrestle the most
That's
that I
awesome.
haven't yet.
Paula Hill in the chat says, exactly. I know how your mom feels. I guess she likes to see she likes to see that.
All right, so her kid used to wrestle, so she loved watching her kid get beat up too.
Yeah, that's a weird, parent thing, but, like, I guess it makes sense, like, because she knows I'm having fun at the end of the day, that I'm doing something I enjoy.
Mhm.
It's also, like, the inner pageant mom in my mom. It's like, no matter what I'm doing, she's just gonna be, like, loud, clapping, screaming,
No matter what, win or lose, like your parents are gonna
lose.
cheer you on.
Yeah, my mom doesn't care if I win or lose. My dad, on the other hand, takes winning and losing very seriously. Like,
Yeah, I could see that. I could see how he's like ultra competitive.
yeah. Yeah, when I used to play basketball, it was stressful having him at, like, the sidelines. I was like, "I can't mess up. I can't mess up."
Did you have to tell him like, hey, can you sit this game out? Like if you were in
No, I was too afraid to tell him that.
if you're in like the playoffs, you're like, hey, can you take a minute? Can you was he one of those parents that like you had to tell him to not like get in the coach's face?
Not that I recall, like, I feel like he was the one when, like, when they would call a timeout, he would pull me aside before the coach would pull me aside, like, he had to be the one to coach me. So, he was more like that, but I don't remember him ever getting in the coach's face. I could see my mom doing she never did it either, but, like, I could see her being that person that would call a ref
Mhm.
out for messing up.
Yeah,
Alan is all the way from Winnipeg, Manitoba. So
Ooh,
welcome. We have people from all over the world.
very cool.
Um, we have a question for all three of us.
Okay.
Um, Freddie Lopez is asking, how did you feel when Thunder Rosa won the title in Texas a couple weeks ago? I think it's almost been like 3 weeks, almost a month.
I know I jumped out of my couch, like, I don't very often, like, jump when someone, like, wins or loses or, like, there's a debut, but that was one of those moments where I just, like, jumped and screamed, and probably, like, my neighbors were like, "What the heck is going on?"
I had
Chuck, what about you? You had your moment.
I had the same feeling I got when AJ debuted at the Rumble. Like it was that. Like you felt it coming. Like how is she gonna lose? But even with that,
Yeah.
the emotion that you get from seeing her with the belt and like she's damn near like bawling, like
Mhm.
it's the same. It was the same pop like I gave for AJ.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about it, like, right after it happened on a mission, and I'm still getting teary-eyed just thinking about it because I was there. I saw it happen, and it still, like, warms my heart. It's still, like it just like, dreams do come true. It just proves that, like, hard work, determination, yeah, it was incredible. I was ugly crying, so you don't wanna see that again, but I was definitely like, am I like it was such a surreal moment for me. I can't even imagine for her. And
Yeah.
I was like, am I ugly crying? Like, am I and then I saw a picture and I was like, oh yeah.
I was like I was like,
I
"Oh."
found one and I was like, I that can never like I wish I could delete that from the
On
internet,
the
but
internet
it's there.
forever.
It is there. Anyway, it was a very special moment for all of us, the Mission Pro family. Many of the sponsors and fans and family were there, and it was an incredible, special moment for San Antonio. So I'm excited that we're back in San Antonio on Saturday, that we can have our Mission Pro family together again. Yeah, exactly. Never ever give up. Dreams do come true. Yes,
Very
front row. We
true.
were all ugly crying. That's exactly true. So, you know, speaking of AEW, I know you had like earlier this year you had your AEW Dark debut, and so late against Layla Hirsch. And so, what was that moment like? That's a huge deal. And how did that all come about?
It was it was so, like I mean, it came about you get the email or whatever, and then it's just like silence until like basically the day of. So like, there's the whole like, oh, am I gonna get to do something? Am I just gonna sit in catering? Because I've done extra work elsewhere and have sat in catering about 20, 30 times and never did anything. So it's like, you never know. Um, and I'm just sitting there like, I would be happy with any match, but specifically if I got to wrestle Layla or Penelope, because those are two girls that I came up with, that would be like, it would just kind of make it like the cherry on top kind of thing. And then I see the board and it says versus Layla, and I was just so excited. I was like, I don't care if we have 3 minutes. We're gonna have the best 3 minutes. I was just so excited. And then it's also weird in a good way because you don't know what to expect when you walk out because you're the dark match. You don't have the entrance. No one knows you. And then
Mhm.
to walk out and have people chanting my name before the match even starts, I was like, I don't have to wrestle. I'm just gonna go home now because I'm not topping this feeling right now. Like, it just blew my mind. And then we went and we had a good match, and she killed me with that knee at the end. And then we walked back through the curtain, and the first person there was Cody, and he had a lot of great advice for us, and it was just a really great moment. Like, there was nothing about that experience that was negative in any way, and like I hope I have more of those
Yeah,
experiences, but it
I
was it
mean,
was all very positive.
yeah, I mean, it's such a sorry, my cat is gotten in trouble. um, she knocked over some things. It's a surreal moment. So like the fact that fans were cheering for you, it's such you kind of have that whole zoned out moment, right? Where you're like on
Yeah.
cloud nine. I mean, did Penelope or Layla or anyone give you advice like heading into that when you like saw your name on the board? Was there any
I
special
no,
like advice?
there was no advice, but I mean, they were very happy for me. Layla was excited to wrestle me as well. So like that was another thing about that locker room. It's just everyone was just so positive. Even the girls who I'd never met before, the vets, just everyone was just so kind and positive. Vicky Guerrero gave a lot of just very kind words. Like everyone in that locker room was just so nice. It didn't feel like anyone was trying to stab you in the back or like, you know, snap your ankle when you walk by. Like, it didn't feel like anyone was, like, out to get you. It just was a very positive experience with everyone.
That's amazing. I mean, it's a special moment. A lot of the talent that we've spoken to on a mission, they've had dark matches, and they've spoken very highly about that experience.
Mhm.
Um, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Women's History Month because that was last month,
Mhm.
and so I wanted to hear from you. Like, I know you mentioned it earlier, but I wanted to hear from you. Like, who have been your inspirations, both in the wrestling industry and then personally outside?
So, I feel like a lot of my does come from wrestling. Like, that was the powerful females that I got to grow up with. Lita and Trish were obviously, like, very important figures for me. Um, and then past, like, wrestling, all of the people I looked up to were fictional characters, like comic book characters or video game characters. There weren't a lot of real life people I got to look up to, and even wrestlers to an extent were like superheroes to me. And there was like a bit of a hiatus I took. Like after Lita retired, I kind of stopped watching wrestling for a few years, and then when I saw AJ Lee, I was immediately hooked again because to me, like I related so much to her. She was, smaller. She was from Jersey, but she could kick ass. So I fell back in love with wrestling from there. And then just seeing all the other like tough women in wrestling and getting to know their stories behind the scenes, like that's where I see all the powerful women. I don't really have anyone outside of wrestling that I really look up to other than like the obvious, like my mom or my grandma, like, the
Mhm.
powerful women in my family. Otherwise, it's all fictional characters that I look up to.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, wrestling is so much about story, so much about
Mhm.
storytelling, and books and games and movies and films. Like they immerse you with their stories, and wrestling does that as well. And so,
Mhm.
how do you take the stories that you read or that you kind of surround yourself in and bring it to wrestling?
I feel like sometimes you can pull from the actual stories, but a lot of times I feel like I pull more from, like, the aesthetics and, like, how I present myself and the way I dress and the way I carry myself. and I think of more of just, like, aesthetically, how I can bring this character to life. Like I said, I kind of always pull from, like, all these different fictional characters, and this is how I ended up looking, and I feel like I turned into, like, a fictional character in a sense. But yeah, it's weird with stories. I read a lot of fiction, so, like, I mean, in a weird way, obviously I was one of those Twilight kids growing up, and now I'm in a match with Holiday, so, like, maybe I should bring a vampire stake or something with me.
Okay, so Holodead also brings a dagger to the ring sometimes, so you have to bring your weapon of choice. So
Can you
what would you?
bring a vampire stake? Like, will TSA stop that? Do you
I
know?
don't know,
Like a wooden vampire stake? Because I have one.
I'm
because you are a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Oh,
correct?
I'm wearing a Buffy shirt right now.
Oh, there you go.
Well, and my cat is named Buffy. I don't know where she went, but she's here somewhere.
Oh my
And then I
goodness.
also have, I don't know if you're familiar with Hack Slash. I got to cosplay on the cover of Hack Slash vs. Vampirella as Cassie Hack, and there's a bat with a bunch of nails drilled into it. I'm pretty sure I can't bring that on the airplane, so maybe if Hollydead was more local, somewhere I could drive, I could bring that, but
I mean, you could drive here to Texas, but it would
I
take a little
could.
while.
That would be
So
quite the road trip. I'm sure there'd be lots of fun stops. Isn't like the biggest ball of yarn somewhere along the way?
somewhere you got to plan
Somewhere.
those trips. That would be amazing. I mean, so you have to think of your weapon of choice, I guess. But speaking of road trips, you've traveled all over the country,
Yeah.
and you know, road trips are fun. You get your music, you get your playlist, you get your snacks. So
Yes.
what would your dream playlist look like? And your, favorite basket of snacks.
Okay, so if I'm about to go on a road trip, we'll stop, we'll get some cheesy poofs. I will get, if we're at a Wawa, I'll get like a Wawa breakfast sandwich, maybe some chocolate donuts, coffee, and a soda to hold me over for like as long as possible.
Okay, all right. I'm
I'll
going
get
in
some
your car.
I'll get some Airhead, those sour rainbow strips. Like I stay stocked up. And then as far as like my playlist, it's a combination of like 2000s like emo punk pop kind of playlist, and then like the late 90s, early 2000s pop. Like I'm a big Britney, Backstreet Boy, NSYNC fan. So
We
like
are
that's
we're jamming. We're gonna be in the car together.
and then I don't know why at night I like to listen to like the more podcasts or audiobooks. I always have AJ Lee's audiobook on my phone ready to listen to. I'll listen to true crime podcasts, of course, in the middle of night when it's dark and I shouldn't be listening to true crime podcasts.
See, I can't do that. I can't watch all those crime shows at 10 o'clock at night because I'm like I'm like putting my blinds down. I'm locking all the
I'm the
doors.
worst
I'm
with
like putting a
that.
chair by the front door. I'm like, all right, no one's getting in.
I used to watch those like ghost hunting or like those paranormal shows before bed, and then I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'd have to keep the light on. I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Why?
So, is there like, everyone might, a lot of us have like our pump up song for the gym, or like a lot of wrestlers have that one song they listen to before they go out, or like right as they're getting in the zone. Is there a song that like we wouldn't expect you to listen to that is like, that's my song I listen to every time?
Man, I don't know if that you wouldn't expect, 'cause I have a couple, like, I will honestly I absolutely listen to I'll put Lita's theme song on to, like, hype myself up. Will play I'm Not Okay by My Chemical Romance.
Okay.
Um, and then,
I feel like those all fit you though.
right, and then there's a show, it's like kind of like an anime, it's called Ruby, and it has such a great soundtrack. There's, like, 2 or 3 songs that are, like, really hype you up. I feel like anime soundtracks in general are good for, like, hyping you up, even if you're not into anime. It's just, like, very, like, fast-paced guitars and, like, there's no way you can't get excited when you listen to it.
Yeah. I mean, so like if you could create your own wrestling anime,
Yeah.
who would be in it?
Man, wow. That is, like, the question of all questions. I've never been asked that, and I've never thought about that.
I'm putting you on
Ugh,
the spot. You could think
I
about it.
know. Well,
Well, Lita has to be in there, of course.
well, obviously, yeah, Lita, AJ for sure, but then I feel like I would wanna pull, like, people I know personally, like, I feel like Penelope would definitely be I mean, she has all the Dragon Ball Z shirts. I have a Penelope Ford shirt with that's, an Android 18 shirt. She would have to be in there. I definitely would want, like, Tony Storm in there. Man, who else would be a great
like,
anime
wouldn't like
who?
Like TJP, like just like looking at TJP, does he not look like an anime character? Like
He does. You know what's funny? I was just looking at their Noah Pro Wrestling in Japan. I
that,
saw a picture yesterday, and like I think they're a tag team. I honestly have no idea who they are, but I'm like they look like actual anime characters. Like
yeah, yes.
it's amazing. I mean, and I'm not trying to be biased with my fiance. Like I swear, when I first saw him, I met him at a wrestling show. I all I saw was like his hair, and he had sunglasses on, and I'm like, he looks like an anime character. And now I'm getting married to him, so like maybe is that a thing I'm like secretly into? Like
I mean, I think so. You have a type, I think.
he has like the like black like it looks like it's like drawn on triangles on his hair. Like he looks like an anime character.
So, it's kind of a personal question. You don't have to necessarily answer it,
Okay.
but are you gonna have like an anime, like tie an anime to your wedding plans?
No. So everyone thinks that we're gonna have this like crazy like either gothic or wrestling related wedding, and we're not. Like I have a traditional dress. My hair is gonna be its natural color. Like we're gonna have some fall decor, but that's like I think that's what's gonna be the big shocker. I feel like we're gonna give them what they're not expecting in a way.
Yeah. I mean, that's
But
important to like do you on your wedding day, right? You gotta,
yeah,
you know.
absolutely. And I feel like people are like, "Oh, your parents must have talked to you." And I was like, "No, like my parents fully expected me to have a black dress, the red hair." But I love that they accepted that. Like I love that that's what they just expected.
I love it.
But we did try to incorporate like little elements of us like on our save the dates. There's a sticker on the back and it's like a little anime looking skeleton of like half of our heads and it like looks like a heart. Like they're like two kissing skeletons that look like my skeleton has the red hair and his skeleton has like the black spiky
Aw.
hair. And we put that on the back of all of our save the dates. So like there's definitely elements of us. It's just not going to be like walking into an anime or walking into a wrestling show. Like, I'm not gonna throw him through the cake or anything crazy.
Man. Oh man.
I
I love it.
I had some friends get married, and the walkout song was a hardcore song. I can't even remember what it was. It's either No Innocent Victim or Madball. I can't remember which band. But as I'm walking out, I push the girl away from me, and I start two-stepping through the crowd.
Oh
And
my god.
like, you made me dress up in this penguin suit. I am hardcore dance all over your wedding. So
I
like,
love
that's you said pop punk. Everybody should just circle pit the whole time.
we're, like, trying to think of a good, like, compromise, so, like, we're gonna have a cocktail hour before the reception, and he pointed out that there's, like, an entire Misfits album of, like, lounge music versions of all their songs, so we're gonna, like, try to incorporate just, like, jazz lounge versions of punk songs into our cocktail hour and see if any of the, like, older family members even catch on.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, so at my wedding, I had like a string quartet, and at the beginning for cocktail hour, and that sounds really like fancy, but it wasn't that fancy. It was three people playing, or four people. Quartet's four. And literally I snuck in songs that like people had to guess what they were, like Journey songs, and like
Yes.
I was like sneaking stuff in, like no one's gonna get this, but it sounds really cool when it's just instrumental. So
Right.
you could do some surprises like that.
We didn't
I
have
love
any really close to that. We got married at the court.
I was gonna elope. We were close to it.
I'm at the point now in the planning where I'm like, maybe we should just like elope somewhere,
Go to Hawaii, get some beautiful elopement
right?
pictures on the cliff, call it
Mhm.
a day, and then spend
Honest.
the next 2 weeks enjoying the beautiful views.
Yeah.
So I could talk weddings all day. I love them, but I gotta know. So you both have two collections behind you.
Yeah.
So can you Brittany, talk a little bit about what you have behind you, and maybe pick out one to like show that's like
Oh,
your favorite.
happily. So let
And
me
then
just
Chuck, you could do the same.
all right. So up top is my Sailor Moon collection. I have Kotobukiya figures up here. I have an entire Rogue shelf here. And then all of these shelves down here are Persona. And my two favorite figures are
All right, we're gonna
these.
get an up close look here.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, okay. So this one She's like impossible to find. This is like a Kotobukiya rogue. She's super rare, and I'm pretty sure like if I were to eBay her right now, she's like worth way too much money, like hundreds of dollars, and I would never be able to afford her at the like gouged prices. And then this is Futaba from Persona 5, and she's holding the cat Morgana.
Oh, I love it because it has a cat.
Yeah, I love her. So, yeah, those are my two favorites.
Amazing.
Um,
What about you, Chuck? Can you pick one out that you're like, this is? I mean, you have a lot there, so we might be here all night.
all right, so it's gonna hold on.
He has to get up. It's a big deal.
I know.
All right, so it's this one. It's my Sting Luger pop. I got both of them to sign it.
Oh, very cool.
Like my mom's favorite wrestler before she met,
Aw.
and so my mom was like 4'11", like super straight laced Pentecostal lady. And Lex Luger would come on the TV and she would start screaming "Sexy Lexi."
No.
I was obsessed with it. Like it was like she would sit on the edge of her chair,
No.
"Oh, Flexi Lexi," and like
No.
she had her 60th birthday, and I definitely made a cake that said "Flexi Lexi is so sexy" on it.
No.
And she was so embarrassed. It was the greatest night of my life. But I got to meet Lex Luger and tell him about my mom, and then like a couple weeks later, I got to meet Sting, and like that was my guy growing up. I've got him tattooed on my leg. Got his signature tattoo too. So like that was always my guy, and but that's probably my favorite. That or the action figure my wife got made of me when I wrestled. It was one of the two.
Aw.
Oh, that's I feel like I need some mementos like here. I'll get them, I promise.
Can I be a nerd? I forgot I have another shelf over there, and I actually have one more favorite if I can show you.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
sharing.
hold on one
Sharing.
second.
Let's do this. This is your hour. We can wait for you. So everyone, this is Brittany's shelf. Front row says, I have a Dave LaGreca beer can signed from Southern Star Brewery. So if you all have not seen, that was one of the most epic matches ever at Mission Pro Wrestling. Dave LaGreca versus, oh my gosh, my brain. It was Thunder Rosa, Laney Luck, and Violetta. Dave's wife got involved. It was a huge thing. And he got thrown through a stack of beer cans, and Chuck, you saw it. It was crazy, wild, and everyone was talking about it. That might be, one of the top matches of last year. So Brittany, what is the figure you want to show us?
So I have a list of like figures over the years that I've tried to collect, and like it's down to like only one. There's only one figure I really want for my collection that I don't have. But before that, this was one of the ones on my list that I could not find. Her name is Moe Moe Suikun. She's from I'm obsessed with Power Rangers. I should have mentioned that earlier when you were asking who my idols were. Like
Power Rangers, Buffy. Okay, we need to hang.
Yeah. Right. So like all the people I looked up to were like fictional characters like Buffy or the Power Rangers. Like I was definitely a hardcore Trini and Kira fan. But this is from Akiba Rangers, and I found this when I was in Japan, and she folds up into a gun, right? And I ran out of space in my luggage, so I wanted to bring her on my carry-on, but then I realized I couldn't fold her into a gun and bring her onto a plane in Japan. So I just had this sticking out of my luggage like this while I got on the plane. And
That's amazing. How
I
long were you in Japan for?
Not long. I was there for like 10 days twice. So, but yeah, I found her in like one of those like used figure shops way cheaper than she should have been. But
I love it. I mean, we all need these things that we're passionate about.
yeah.
Surround ourselves.
This is
Ooh, what's that?
When you said rogue, I found my zombie rogue.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Oh my gosh. I love how you're commiserating over this. I love it. So when you were in Japan, did you train and wrestle?
No,
Yeah.
so it's weird, funny story. Not really funny, but I wrestled for Stardom and I wrestled for Marvelous, but not in Japan. But I've
Mhm.
also been to, I would love to, it just hasn't worked out that way. There was talks at one point, and then it was like the pandemic happened, and then a company kind of got like bought out, and now it's like radio silence. So like honestly, like if you look at my list of goals in wrestling, Japan is all like wrestling in Japan has always been like the top of that list. And honestly, like if I could live in Japan, like aside from wrestling, I would. I just love Japan. I love the culture. I love the environment. Like obviously it's not perfect, but there's a lot of things about it that I really like.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, I know a lot of wrestlers that like it's such a huge milestone to go there and wrestle and
Yeah,
have that moment. So I hope that happens for you in 2022.
I really
I
hope
know
so.
cross our fingers. I know that the pandemic kind of shifted everyone's kind of life and our
Yeah.
why of like why we're doing this. And so how did your like what was your reason to get up and continue to wrestle and to do this every single day, even when things got tough?
I feel like because I've always done wrestling for the mentality of like I'm doing this for 14-year-old me that thought this was something that I could never do. So I always like have conversations with 14-year-old me. I always say that to myself, like I wish I could go back and tell her, like this insecure girl who doesn't really have any friends, that, you're gonna do this awesome thing one day and you're gonna, make people really happy. And it goes back to like having like the younger fans and like, that's the reason why you do it. You do it, you do it for the kids and you do it for like your childhood self who looked up to these people. But I mean, it's hard. I mean, I think in a weird way, I kind of needed a part of that pandemic because for a while I was just so go, go, go. And I really got to take the time to like step back and reevaluate what's important. And it's okay to not book up, every single weekend, 3 days out of the weekend, that it's okay to take the time to spend with family or, your partner or just hobbies, like doing things for you. Um, so I mean, I feel like, it's okay to like not wanna do this sometimes and, like, having those days where you're like, "I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna train today. I'm not gonna eat right today. I'm just gonna sit on a couch, and I'm not even gonna think about wrestling today." And then, the next day, just being 100% committed again, and, like, sometimes you just have to, like, remind yourself why you started. I feel like some people lose sight of why they started and why they do it, and they get caught up in other things. They get caught up in, the follows or whatever it is on social media now. And like I personally during the pandemic, I took a big break from social media and that was so beneficial for like my mental health and just like, just remembering that like if I'm not on this phone, none of these people exist to me outside of
Yeah,
of my phone.
exactly.
And I feel like having that perspective really helped too because I felt like I spent a lot of my first couple of years in wrestling worrying too much about like what other people thought and stepping on like worried about like other people's feelings getting hurt for like dumb stuff, like not even like, me stepping on people, but like, me worrying that they're going to think I'm doing something when I'm not doing something. And just like really just taking the time to be like, you know what? I don't need to, talk to all these people all the time and like make sure that everyone's like on good terms with me. And honestly, it's not like anyone. It turns out like no one really cared anyway. Like if I disappeared off of social media, like no one's gonna care. So it's
I
just
I
mean,
like,
I'll
it's a hard balance. I mean, there's so many people that we talked about this actually yesterday with Ruby about
mhm,
social media and how it could be a platform for bullying
yeah,
and just body shaming. And it's really
mhm,
hard for women in the industry to have to deal with that on a constant basis. And so it's totally important to check out and unplug.
mhm.
And that's a really big lesson that I feel like a lot of young ladies that are coming up into the industry that they have to kind of find that balance.
Yeah, it's hard, especially like when you do have something that's on a higher platform, like, to not read the comments sometimes, to just, if you want to watch your match back on YouTube, maybe not read the comments that people are saying because there could be 100 great comments and then one person saying something that's awful that they have no right to say. And that's the one that's going to stick with you. So I feel like, you need to just not pay attention to what everyone says. I mean, if you're not going to, if you don't value that person's opinion in real life, you shouldn't value that person's opinion on social media, you know?
Yeah,
I would have
100%.
deleted. I've deleted, like, I've gotten Facebook, deleted it, gotten it, deleted it. Like,
Yeah.
the only reason I have social media is because I'm running a company. If I didn't have this, like, I would completely unplug from it. Like, I was spending way too much time on it.
Mhm.
And like you were saying, like, you care so much about strangers' opinions about shit that they have no reason of being a part of. Like,
And there are
you
people
shouldn't
too
care
where
about it.
it's like there are people who go out of their way to, like, say something mean, like, there's no way you could possibly please that person.
Nope.
Yeah.
And there are people who think that they're, like, heels in real life, and it's
Yep.
like, dude, you're just an asshole.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
they just say something mean about everyone, and they, like, bully people until they go off of social media. Like, I'm very thankful that I haven't had that happen in wrestling. I've had that happen in real life, like, before wrestling, and I know how much that sucks. So, like, I'm very grateful that I haven't had to deal with that on a larger scale.
Right.
Fingers crossed I don't have to have that happen, but, like, I think I'm at the point now too where I'm not afraid to just, like, delete the app off my phone and go back to
yeah.
playing video games.
Yeah, I mean, what's some advice you would give to someone? There's a lot of young women that are just starting to train and just starting to get into, branding themselves as a wrestler and finding their voice in this industry, and it can be really daunting at times. So, what's advice you would give someone that's just starting out?
If they're just starting out, I mean, make sure you find a not just a good but a good support system. That was a big thing for me. I went to one school and it didn't click, and then I went to another school where it felt like a better environment. It felt like a more positive environment. And I just feel like just trust your gut. There's so many times I was in a bad situation and I had a gut feeling and I should have just left. Like no one's going to I mean, you might get a little shit from, like, probably, like, the whoever's the, like, bad guy or whoever, like, is causing all the damage, but, like, as a whole, like, people are gonna have your back if you decide that something's not a good situation for you to be in, so, like, just I feel like just trusting your gut is such a important thing, especially with all of the speaking out that happened, a couple years ago, like, there were a lot of people where I can think back and, like thinking back and, like, yeah, I never had a good gut feeling about this person or this person, and I should have trusted that gut feeling or, I just feel like, especially as a female, just find a good support system of other women. It's so much easier now too because there's so many more women in wrestling. When I started, there was one other female, and they really weren't there, so, like, I didn't have any really girlfriends really. It wasn't until I think Penelope came and started training at that school too, where I finally and even me and her didn't get along at first either. But once we did, like that was kind of like the only girlfriend I had in wrestling for a long time. And nowadays I have a much better support system and there's a lot more women out there that are understanding they're on the same level as you. Like I wish I had a bigger support system like when I very first started, but I mean, it got me to where I'm at now, so I guess regrets, but
I mean, I know we're getting to like the end of our hour here, but I had kind of one more, or like one or two more questions of like
okay.
you mentioned it that like where have you seen women's wrestling kind of evolve because you've been in it since 2013 and so
Mhm.
much has happened in this time and I know
Yeah.
you've worked with other all female promotions and
Mhm.
where do you see women's wrestling going and where do you want to see it go?
I mean, I think it's in great hands. I think it's taken a really good trajectory. Like, when I first started, the very first all-women show I was on, I'm not gonna name names because like, it doesn't really matter, but I got, like, pulled into the bathroom by 3 of the, like, vets telling me that I need to be humble and I need to make sure I'm not stealing anyone's spot. I was in a battle royal, like, I think a 30-person battle royal where, like, I wasn't taking anyone's spot anyway, like, the first couple years, I felt very intimidated. I felt like there was a definite line in the locker rooms of, like, the vets and then the new girls, and nowadays, everyone had most of the time, it's not, not everywhere's perfect, but most of the locker rooms now are just so much more welcoming. It doesn't feel like there's a dark cloud over it. I just feel like, women are now being more, positive and just kinder and not treating this like a competition and, like, stabbing people in the back. 'Cause I guess maybe before it was competitive where there's only one spot on the card for a girls match. Now there's entire shows, so there's no reason.
Yeah.
And there's so many companies across the whole world. Like, there's no reason to make it a competition. So I'm glad that, you know, the women are a lot more inviting and helpful. And yeah, I feel like we're going down the right path right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited because you get to experience Mission Pro this
Yes.
weekend. And
I'm
like
so
Front Row
excited.
says, the support system and just the camaraderie and
Yeah.
the sisterhood that is a Mission Pro locker room is palpable, is powerful. You'll feel it before, during, after the show. It is a full experience. So I'm excited that you get to experience that for the first time this weekend.
Me too. I've been wanting to wrestle for Mission Pro for so long, so I'm glad everything kind of like worked out and the stars aligned.
Yes.
I can second that. Like, it is like we set up before the show, you know, so like we get to hear some of the stuff, and it's one of the best ran promotions that we've had. Even when I wrestled, plus doing the shirts, like it's one of the best companies we've been able to be a part of. It is like a big family atmosphere when you're there. Like they welcome you with open arms. They didn't know who I was. I just walked in the door and they saw my shirt and everybody's like, "Oh, hey!" And like I was like, "This is rad." Like, you don't get that when you go to some places. Like, you walk in and people just stare at you like you're not supposed to be there. And I'm like, no, like
Yeah.
I have a place, like you were just saying, like the support system stuff. I have a place here. Like,
Yeah.
there's people that want me to be here. Like
Yeah.
so like that place is very welcoming. You're gonna love it.
I know.
I'm
We
excited.
welcome everyone. So I'm so excited for you, Brittany. Thank you for joining. Where can people find you on social media? Where can people buy merch? We want to know.
Right. So I will have new prints at the show on Saturday. It's gonna be fun. You can find me on Facebook. I think it's just Brittany Blake. If you just look for the girl that looks like me with the red hair, you'll find it. Twitter is Brittany Blake _. Instagram is the Brittany Blake. And then I do have a pro wrestling tee store, but I will admit it is not up to date. I really need to get new merch. I haven't updated it since before the pandemic. So I need to work on that. But there is a pro wrestling store if you do look up Brittany Blake. But that's pretty much all I have. I will be selling 8x10s. I have stickers, pins. I have a comic book I'll be selling on Saturday. So yeah.
Amazing. I mean, fans love, our Mission Pro fans love merch. So bring all that you can, all that you can fit into your suitcase, because we will
Yeah.
definitely buy it.
Yes, they
Chuck,
do.
where can people find Wrestling Over Everything on socials and get some of that special merchandise?
Wrestlingovereverything.com, and then I don't remember all the handles. Hold on, I got them written
Well,
down.
that's fine. Yeah.
I got them. They're right here.
Okay. I was just going to say, look up Wrestling Over Everything on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It pops up.
Twitter, it's at wrestling_over. Facebook is Wrestling Over Everything. Instagram is Wrestling Over Everything Apparel. YouTube is Wrestling Over Everything, and TikTok is Wrestling Over Everything. I don't use TikTok. My 14-year-old made me do it, and he said he was going to run it, and he doesn't. He is the worst.
Well, thank you
He's
so
right
much
there.
for joining. He's right there. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching another episode of On a Mission. I'm Emily May. You can follow me on all social platforms at Emily May Heller. Remember, get your tickets for Living on the Edge on or at missionprowrestling.net or Eventbrite. You can go to the direct link as well. And if you can't join us in person, watch it on Title Match Network. And remember, all some of the proceeds are going to go to the Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club. This is one of their fundraisers, and so we're so excited to be collaborating with them and able to help the Boys and Girls Club and community in San Antonio. So it is for a great cause, which we're very passionate about here at Mission Pro. Remember, follow Mission Pro Wrestling on all of their social platforms. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we have a TikTok. So go follow us there and subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that little subscribe button and get all of the notifications for new content. We are so ready for Saturday in San Antonio. Mission Pro is back, and we are going to be living on the edge. Thank you so much, Brittany and Chuck. Thank you to all the fans in the chat. We will see you on Saturday. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.